Hello, today we're going to point out some of the things that are used in both knitting and crochet or any type of yarn work. Here in front of me, a lot of times you'll have scissors. You can use scissors of any type. Over here we've got yarn needles. They come in different sizes. They usually come in plastic and metal. They're used to weave in the ends of your work so that it looks all tidy and neat. Up here we've got what's called cable needles. And cable needles, when you're knitting, you can do cabling in knitting and crochet. And cable is, it will kind of look braided when it's done, and what you're doing is you're twisting stitches. So you'll skip a few stitches, knit or crochet a few stitches, and then come back and knit or crochet the ones that we skipped. So we'll twist the stitches and make it look kind of braided. It looks really nice, really pretty. I wouldn't start out with that as your first stitch. I would make sure that you're comfortable with the basic stitches first. But the cable needle is where you would hold the stitches that you're skipping, because you'll either need to hold the stitches to the front or to the back of your work. So that's what these are. They come again in different styles. These ones are the ones that I usually use, the plastic ones with no ridges, but there's also some with ridges. There's also some that are made out of bamboo. There's also some that are straight without the little niche right there in the middle. So it's a personal preference. Over here we have these cone-shaped things. These are what go onto the end of your needle or hook to stop the stitches from coming off. It's just a little stopper. Okay. And then down here we've got stitch markers. The round ones without any opening do not use in crochet, because if you use something that doesn't open in crochet, you're not going to be able to get it out of your work without cutting your yarn. So this is most commonly used in knitting, and what you do is, as you're knitting, you would place this on your needle and then continue knitting, and it would show you where you are, where your first stitch is in your round, or you can place it, every so number of stitches across your pattern so that you can kind of count quickly, like in 50s or 20s instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing here. This is also a stitch marker. You can use it in knitting and in crochet. The nice thing about this one is it's like a safety pin, and it opens so that you can take it out of your work after you have gone through. This is what you would want to use if you're doing crochet, because you have to be able to open it to take it out of your work when you're done. Over here we have a couple things that are used if you have an interchangeable hook set or an interchangeable needle set. Interchangeable hooks and needles, what you do is you buy a set. It has several different sizes of hooks and needles, and it has wires or cables that you can connect to the hook or the needle to make it longer, or to have 2 hooks or 2 needles, one on each end of the cable, to be a circular set. And this right here, these will come with the interchangeable hook set. This goes onto the end of the cable. If you're just one hook or one needle, then you would put this on the other end to keep your stitches from coming off. And this is used, you would put it into this little hole in the middle part of the hook or needle, and it helps you to tighten or loosen the cable from coming off. Lastly, we have tape measures. It's really important to be able to measure your work, especially if you're doing clothing, where you have to keep a close eye on your gauge. And usually you'll want a tape measure that is flexible, so it can flex along with your work. And it'll usually have inches on one side and centimeters on the other side. This one is one that came in like I got a little pack from the 99-cent store. It came with some thread, some needles, and one of these. It also came with a dinky pair of scissors that I never used. I always prefer to use my scissors that actually work. But you can also find tape measures in the tool section at the craft store where you get your needles from. They usually have different types of tape measures. You can actually use a tape measure, like I have one here. Very simple. You pull it out and then it has a button to bring it back in. As long as it's a flexible thing, it would be best. And that's pretty much it. Those are the basics of what you'll find in your tool kit, I want to say. The stuff that I carry around, I usually have 2 of each size of needle, one is a spare, so one I'll keep at home in case I lose, because I do happen to lose these very often if I misplace them. I usually have a couple of everything. This is usually what I have in mind. For the stitch markers, I'll usually have 10 or 15 of each kind, or if I know what project I'm working on, maybe I'll only require 1, maybe I'll only require 3. So, I just carry what I need with me in my little kit, and then the rest I leave at home so I don't lose them all at one time. And then for these, you'll want to carry 2 of each size. They come in different sizes. I usually carry these 2 sizes. Every now and then I'll work with something that requires a little bit smaller, but I can't work with the smaller needles because it hurts my hands. So those are usually the only 2 sizes that I would require. And then I have my tape measure. And I usually carry a small pair of scissors that I have that works pretty well. If you have any other questions, please feel free to give me a comment on the video and I'll help you when I can.